My boyfriend forgot my birthday, but planned the perfect party for his ex instead. He promised me a birthday surprise. When I walked into his apartment, I realized I was the only person who wasn't supposed to be there. My name is Claire Bennett. I'm 28 years old, and until that Saturday, I believed Ethan Cole and I had built a solid relationship over the past 18 months. Earlier that afternoon, he had texted me while I was finishing work. Come to my apartment tonight at 7:30. A second message followed almost immediately. Surprise party. It was my birthday, so I never questioned who the surprise was for. For the past week, Ethan had been unusually secretive, ending phone calls whenever I walked into the room, hiding shopping bags in his closet, and insisting I keep Saturday evening free. I assumed he was finally planning something thoughtful. He'd forgotten dinner reservations, appointments, even the restaurant where we'd had our first date. I honestly believed my birthday would be different. The hallway was silent. Using the key he'd given me 6 months earlier, I unlocked the door and stepped into complete darkness. Ethan! The lights exploded on. Surprise! Balloons floated across the ceiling, a birthday banner stretched over the dining room wall, and a cake sat in the center of the table. For a brief second I smiled. Then I realized nobody was looking at me. Every guest surrounded the woman standing beside Ethan, Olivia Hayes, his ex-girlfriend. She wore a dark red dress, and Ethan stood close enough that their shoulders touched while his hand remained wrapped around hers. The room fell silent as people finally noticed me standing in the doorway. Olivia blinked first. Oh, hey Claire. Ethan turned, and every trace of color disappeared from his face. Claire! His eyes darted from me to the decorations behind him, as if they might somehow explain what I was seeing. I looked at the cake. Pink frosting spelled out 2 words. Happy birthday, Olivia. Only then did I remember a conversation we'd had nearly a year earlier. Ethan had laughed when he realized Olivia and I shared the same birthday. November 2nd, he'd said. What are the chances? Apparently high enough for him to invite his girlfriend to his ex-girlfriend's surprise birthday party. Nobody spoke. Someone quietly lowered a phone. One of Ethan's co-workers stared at the floor. A champagne glass was set down so carefully it barely made a sound. My eyes drifted back to Ethan. He was still holding Olivia's hand. The moment he realized it, he pulled away so abruptly, their fingers separated with an audible slap. Claire, I can explain. I walked toward them without saying a word. Every pair of eyes followed me. Olivia looked almost as confused as I felt. When I stopped in front of her, she glanced at Ethan, clearly waiting for him to explain why his current girlfriend had just walked into her surprise birthday party. I held out my hand. Happy birthday! She hesitated before shaking it. Thank you, she whispered. I nodded, turned to Ethan and said quietly, nice party. Claire, wait. I set the bottle of wine on the nearest table and walked out without another word. I didn't scream, argue, knock over the cake, or demand answers. More than 20 people had already witnessed everything they needed to see. By the time I reached the parking lot, Ethan came running after me. Claire, please, wait! I got into my car, started the engine, and lowered the window only a few inches when he pounded on the glass. I'm so sorry, I got confused. You got confused? I thought your birthday was next week. The excuse was so absurd, I almost laughed. You invited me to your ex-girlfriend's surprise birthday party on my birthday. I wasn't thinking. You've been dating me for 18 months. I know, I made a mistake. I glanced toward the building. Olivia had stepped outside with her arms crossed, watching us with growing suspicion. You were holding her hand. But that wasn't what it looked like. It looked exactly like you planned a surprise party for your ex and accidentally invited your girlfriend. Claire, please, don't do this here. I'm not doing anything. I tightened my grip on the steering wheel. You remembered her favorite cake, invited 20 people, decorated your apartment, bought balloons, food and champagne. You remembered every detail about her birthday. You just forgot mine. His mouth opened, but no explanation came. I can make this up to you. No. His expression hardened. You're ending 18 months over one mistake? Watch me. I raised the window and drove away. In the mirror, I watched Olivia walk toward him while pointing back at the apartment, but I never looked back again. When I got home, the silence hit harder than the party had. My phone wouldn't stop vibrating. Please answer. I made a mistake. You're humiliating me in front of everyone. Then came the message that ended every remaining doubt. You're being completely unreasonable. I blocked his number. Only then did I notice how much of Ethan's life had quietly moved into my apartment. His things were everywhere. His toothbrush beside mine, his jacket by the door, his shoes under the bench. Without noticing, I'd already made room for half his life. We'd talked about living together because my apartment was larger, but we had never actually agreed to it. Then I remembered something more important. He still had a key. At 11:47 p.m., I called a 24-hour locksmith. Emergency re-key. Can someone come tonight? The overnight charge is $340. Come now. While waiting, I packed everything that belonged to Ethan into 8 boxes. By 2:25 a.m., every lock had been replaced. 5 minutes later, I created a temporary number and sent one final message. Your belongings are packed. Collect them before Friday. Your old key no longer works. Then I blocked that number, turned off my phone, and finally went to bed. I thought forgetting my birthday was the worst thing Ethan had done. I had no idea Olivia believed we'd already broken up. At 7:15 the next morning, violent pounding shook my front door. Claire, open the door! It was Ethan. Then another voice joined him. Claire, we just want to talk. Mia Parker. I pulled on a sweatshirt and walked into the living room where Ethan's boxes were still stacked beside the door. Before opening it, I checked the security camera. Ethan looked exhausted, his clothes wrinkled and his eyes swollen from lack of sleep. Beside him stood Mia with her arms folded, already wearing the expression of someone who had decided I was the villain before hearing a single word. I unlocked the door but left the chain in place. What? We need to talk, Ethan said, stepping closer. No, we don't. I already ended this. His eyes dropped to the boxes behind me. Is that my stuff? Yes. Everything that was here. Mia sighed and stepped forward. Claire, come on, this is insane. Ethan just got the dates mixed up. He threw his ex-girlfriend a surprise party on my birthday. He didn't mean to hurt you. That doesn't make it better, Ethan cut in. You're throwing away 18 months over one mistake. You keep calling it a mistake. What else would you call it? A choice. Before he could answer, I continued. You chose the decorations, the cake, the guest list, and to stand there holding Olivia's hand. Then you chose to text me the exact time everyone was supposed to surprise her. I told you I forgot. No, you remembered her birthday. Mia shook her head. You're acting like he cheated. Ethan glanced at her so quickly, it immediately caught my attention. I looked back at him. Did you? What? Did you cheat on me? No, nothing happened with Olivia. We've just been talking. How long? A couple of weeks. Mia frowned. You told me it was only a few messages. Ethan shot her a warning look. That was all I needed to hear. I removed the chain and opened the door just far enough to point at the boxes. Take your things. Claire, please, I love you. You spent weeks talking to your ex while secretly planning her birthday party. It wasn't like that. Then tell me what it was like. She'd been having a difficult time. I laughed bitterly. So you comforted her by throwing her a party and holding her hand? She needed support. And what did I need? He had no answer. For the past month, I'd covered some of his bills because work was supposedly slow, cooked for him, let him stay at my apartment most nights, and rearranged my schedule around his. All that time, he was quietly rebuilding his relationship with Olivia. Claire, Mia said softly. He's sorry. He's already explained enough. Ethan reached toward the door. Don't. He stopped. I just want to come inside. You're not coming in. I've practically been living here. You have your own apartment. His confidence disappeared. I can't go back there. Why not? He hesitated until Mia quietly said, Tell her. He closed his eyes. My lease ends this week. I frowned. What? I gave notice last month. We were supposed to move in together. No, we talked about it. We never agreed. He stepped closer. I already told my landlord I was leaving. Where am I supposed to go? Not here. You're making me homeless. No, you made that decision without my agreement. You knew I wanted to move in. I knew what you wanted. I never promised it. Mia stared at me in disbelief. So you're really leaving him with nowhere to go? He still has a few days before he has to leave his apartment. After that, he has parents, friends, and an ex-girlfriend, whose birthday he somehow remembered better than mine. Ethan's eyes flashed. Don't bring Olivia into this. She's exactly why we're standing here. No, your reaction is. His answer erased my last hesitation. Until that moment, a small part of me had wondered if I'd ended 18 months together too quickly. But Ethan still believed the problem wasn't what he'd done. It was that I refused to accept it. I rested my hand on the door. You have until Friday to collect everything. I can't move it all today. That's not my problem. I don't have anywhere to put it. Rent a storage unit. You're being cruel. No, I'm being clear. His eyes filled with tears, but instead of sympathy, I only felt exhausted. Please, he whispered. Let me stay for 1 week. We'll sleep in separate rooms. I'll figure something out. No? Claire! No. I closed the door. For another 15 minutes they knocked. Ethan called my name. Mia accused me of being heartless, and Ethan even tried his old key despite knowing it had been deactivated. It caught halfway in the new lock before stopping. Eventually, the hallway fell silent. I thought that was the end. It wasn't. Monday morning, my boss, Daniel Reeves, asked me into his office. I received a strange phone call, he said. A woman claiming to be Ethan's mother said you'd thrown her son out without warning and that she was concerned about your mental state. I told him everything. The birthday party, Olivia, the breakup, Ethan giving up his lease, and the boxes waiting outside my door. Daniel listened quietly before shaking his head. He threw his ex a surprise birthday party on your birthday, then his mother called your workplace? Yes. I told her this was a private matter and not to contact the company again. HR will deal with it if she tries. I apologize for dragging work into my personal life. You're apologizing for someone else's behavior, he said. Don't. That evening, I noticed fresh scratches around my new lock. I opened the security camera app and watched Ethan appear at 4:48 p.m. He tried his old key several times, shoved the door with his shoulder when it failed, then hurried away. I immediately saved the footage in multiple places. The next morning, an unknown number texted me. You need to give me my key back. I knew it was Ethan. That key doesn't work anymore. A few moments later, another message appeared. I can't move all my belongings. You have until Friday. I'm calling the police. You're stealing my property. I replied with one sentence. Go ahead. Then explain why you tried to enter my apartment yesterday at 4:48 p.m. after I'd revoked your permission. The typing bubble appeared, then disappeared. He never answered. Wednesday evening, someone knocked again. This time it wasn't Ethan. 2 police officers stood outside my apartment. Claire Bennett? Yes. We received a report that you're refusing to return your ex-boyfriend's belongings. Ex-boyfriend, I corrected, opening the door wider and pointing to the boxes stacked inside. Everything he owns is right there. After I invited them in, I showed the officers our messages, the deadline I'd given Ethan, and the security footage of him trying to use his old key. He doesn't live here? One officer asked. No, he's never been on the lease. He stayed here sometimes, but his legal address is his own apartment. And you told him to collect everything before Friday? Yes. The older officer nodded. That seems reasonable. He radioed the officer outside with Ethan. Sir, your belongings are packed and available for collection. She isn't required to give you a working key, and you no longer have permission to enter the apartment. If you try again, you could be cited for trespassing. After a burst of angry shouting from Ethan, the radio fell silent. A few minutes after the officers left, another unknown number called. How dare you call the police on my son? It was Ethan's mother. I didn't. Ethan did. You're destroying him. He just needs to collect his belongings. He has nowhere to go. He still has his apartment until the end of the week. He gave notice because you promised he could move in. I never promised anything. We discussed living together, so we never agreed. You led him on. No, he made that decision without asking me. Her voice hardened. You owe him a place to live. I don't owe him anything. You were supposed to build a future together. That future ended when he secretly rebuilt one with Olivia. He made one mistake. He'd been talking to her for weeks. Silence followed. From the look on her face, she already knew. You already knew about Olivia? She exhaled slowly. That relationship was important to him. So was ours. You don't understand their history. That single sentence told me everything. Even after 18 months, I'd never truly been part of Ethan's family. Olivia was still the woman they believed belonged beside him. He can collect his boxes before Friday, I said. Don't call me again. Then I blocked her number. The next morning, Olivia called. I know this is awkward, she said, but you deserve the truth. I listened. Ethan told me you two had broken up 2 weeks before the party. He said you were still friends and helping him move because the breakup was mutual. My stomach dropped. We started talking again about 3 weeks ago, she continued. Nothing physical happened, but he said he wanted to see if we could rebuild our relationship. As Olivia spoke, every moment from that night finally fell into place. I remembered the banner over the table, then the cake, then the way his hand never left hers. For the first time, I understood exactly what had happened. You thought he was single? Yes. Then why did he invite me? I honestly think he didn't realize he'd sent you the invitation until you walked through the door. The moment I saw your face, I knew something was wrong. What happened after I left? I asked whether you were still together. He kept saying it was complicated, so I left about 10 minutes later. I let out a bitter laugh. It wasn't complicated. I know that now. She hesitated before continuing. He's been texting me non-stop since Saturday. He wants me to tell everyone you're controlling, jealous, and emotionally abusive. He says he only came back to me because he was trying to escape you. Are you going to help him? No. Her answer didn't hesitate. I saved every message. For the first time since that birthday party, I felt the balance shift. Ethan believed he could rewrite what happened. He didn't realize the 2 women he'd lied to were now holding every message Ethan wished nobody would ever read. After ending the call, I sat at my desk for several minutes as everything finally clicked into place. The late-night messages he always hid, his sudden need for space, and the way Olivia's name had quietly returned to our conversations weren't random. He hadn't accidentally hurt 2 women. He had deliberately lied to both of us until those lies finally collided. I forwarded every message Ethan had sent since the breakup, downloaded my apartment security footage, and organized everything into a folder labeled Ethan Timeline. Something told me I'd need it. I was right. By Friday morning, Ethan's version of the story had spread through our mutual friends. Some asked if I was all right, while others wanted to know whether he and Olivia were back together. One message summed up the rumors perfectly. Is it true you threw Ethan out because he forgot your birthday? Forgot. That word again. People who hadn't witnessed the party didn't know about the decorations, the cake, the hand he was holding, or the weeks of lies behind it. I replied with one sentence. He didn't forget my birthday. He planned someone else's. I left everyone else to reach their own conclusions. Around 6 that evening, my apartment buzzer rang. The security monitor showed Ethan, his mother, Mia, and a moving truck. He'd finally come for his belongings. I unlocked the lobby door, but kept my apartment locked until they reached my floor. "Thanks for letting us get everything," Ethan said with a strained smile. "I'm letting you collect your property." His mother immediately stepped in. "This never would have happened if you weren't so stubborn." I ignored her. "The boxes are exactly where I left them." As Ethan carried the first box out, his eyes wandered around the apartment. His books were gone, the coffee machine had disappeared, and the framed photo from our beach trip had left only a pale rectangle on the wall. "You already took down our pictures. They stopped being ours on Saturday." His mother clicked her tongue. "You're acting like he committed some terrible crime." I met her eyes. "He lied to 2 women at the same time. That's between young people." "No," I said calmly. "It's between adults who make choices. You'll regret throwing away a good man." I almost replied, but my father's old advice stopped me. Never argue with someone who's already decided you're wrong. I stepped aside. "Everything's boxed." Ethan quietly carried cartons toward the elevator. After several trips, he stopped beside the kitchen island and looked around the apartment. "You packed everything. You even wrapped my coffee mugs." I didn't want them broken. He gave a tired smile. "I really am sorry." "I believe you." Hope briefly crossed his face. "But you're only sorry because you got caught." His mother immediately interrupted. "That's enough." "No," I replied. "He deserves to hear this." I faced Ethan one last time. "If I hadn't walked into that apartment, would you ever have told me the truth? If Olivia hadn't found out, would you have stopped seeing her?" He said nothing. That silence answered both questions. An hour later, the last box was loaded. Before leaving, Ethan paused at the doorway. "I hope someday you'll remember I'm not a monster." I shook my head. "I'll remember exactly who you chose to be." He lowered his eyes and walked away. For the first time in days, my apartment finally felt like mine again. I thought it was over. I was wrong. The next morning, a certified letter arrived from a law office. According to Ethan's attorney, I owed him more than $10,000 for relocation costs, storage fees, and emotional distress because I'd supposedly promised he could move into my apartment before abandoning him. The claim fell apart the moment I finished reading it. We had talked about living together someday, but we'd never agreed on a date, signed anything, changed his address, or added him to my lease. Ethan hadn't relied on a promise. He'd invented one. That afternoon, I met attorney Michael Harris and explained everything. From the birthday party and Olivia to the security footage, police visit, and demand letter. He listened carefully before asking a few simple questions. "You never agreed he could move in?" "No." "Signed anything?" "No." "Any emails or texts confirming it?" "Never." He nodded. "Then his case is extremely weak. The law doesn't treat assumptions as contracts." He tapped the demand letter. "Emotional distress claims are common. Winning them under these facts is another matter entirely." Michael immediately began drafting a response stating that Ethan voluntarily ended his lease without any confirmed housing agreement, misrepresented his relationship status to another woman, attempted to enter my apartment after permission had been revoked, and that police had already determined I handled his belongings reasonably. Then he looked up with a faint smile. "If your ex continues contacting you, filing false complaints or interfering with your job, we'll stop defending and start discussing harassment." For the first time since Saturday, I didn't feel relief. I felt in control. Ethan thought he could overwhelm me with accusations until I apologized for exposing his lies. What he didn't understand was that every move he made left another record behind. Michael mailed our response Monday morning, and Ethan's attorney confirmed receiving it before lunch. I expected the threats to stop. Instead, they became more desperate. That afternoon, an unfamiliar number called while I was driving home. "Claire, it was Ethan. I thought you blocked all my numbers." "I did. I borrowed someone's phone. I have nothing to say to you." "Please don't hang up." I stayed on the line for one reason. I wanted the conversation recorded. "I read your lawyer's response." "Good. Do we really have to do this? You started it." "I just wanted help." "You demanded $10,000. I didn't ask for that amount. My lawyer suggested it." I almost laughed. "So now it's your lawyer's fault." Silence. "I never wanted us to become enemies." "You should have thought about that before lying to both of us." "I'm not a liar." "You told Olivia we'd already broken up." "I was going to tell you." "When?" "I don't know." His silence answered the question better than anything he could have said. I ended the call, blocked the number again, and added the recording to the case file Michael had told me to keep. The next evening, I ran into Mia at the grocery store. She stopped my cart. "Ethan's living with his parents," Mia said quietly. "He lost everything." "He threw it away?" She sighed. "You should forgive him. He lied to Olivia, lied to me, filed a false police report, and tried to force his way back into my life. Which part should I forgive?" Mia lowered her eyes. "I didn't know." "I'm sorry." It was the first sincere apology I'd heard from anyone on Ethan's side. I nodded once and walked away. Wednesday morning, Detective Laura Jenkins called. "Ms. Bennett, we're following up on a theft complaint. Your former boyfriend claims you stole electronics from his apartment. I almost laughed. I've never even lived there. She said Ethan alleged I'd taken a laptop, camera equipment, and a tablet after the breakup and asked to visit that afternoon. When the detectives arrived, I answered every question. I'd never lived at Ethan's apartment, never had a key, and had never removed any of his property. Then I showed them everything. The security footage, photos of the packed boxes, last week's police report, our messages arranging pickup, and the video of Ethan, his mother and Mia loading every box into the moving truck. By the time they finished watching, the story Ethan had reported no longer matched the evidence in front of them. The detectives watched the footage without interrupting. When it ended, Detective Jenkins turned to her partner. Did he report anything missing that day? No, he took everything. She nodded, made another note, then looked at me. This complaint was filed after your lawyer responded to his demand letter. Yes, thank you for your cooperation. Before leaving, she paused. If this report was knowingly false, she didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. The next morning, Michael called. The detectives contacted me. They're interviewing Ethan again and comparing his statement with yours. Is that good? They're finding inconsistencies. If they conclude he knowingly lied, filing a false report could have consequences. For the first time, Ethan wasn't the one controlling the story anymore. That afternoon, security called from my office lobby. There's someone here asking for you. Who? Ethan? His mother is with him. I went downstairs anyway, not to reconcile, but because the lobby was full of co-workers, witnesses. Ethan stepped toward me. I need to talk. You've had plenty of chances. His mother cut in. This has gone far enough. I agree. Then withdraw everything. I looked at her. What exactly have I filed? Your son sued me, reported me to the police, and tried to enter my apartment after I'd revoked permission. Neither of them answered. Finally, Ethan spoke. The detectives questioned me again. They think I lied. Did you? He hesitated. I was upset. That isn't an answer. I just wanted you to talk to me. So you accuse me of theft to get my attention. I didn't think it would go this far. It always does when you lie. His mother insisted he was suffering because I refused to forgive him. No, I said calmly. He's suffering because every decision he's made since Saturday has been worse than the last. Ethan looked defeated. I lost my apartment. You gave it up. I thought we had a future. You ended that future yourself. He swallowed. If I tell everyone the truth, will you come back? Even then, he wasn't accepting responsibility. He was still trying to negotiate his way back. No, his shoulders slumped. I figured. Security approached and asked them to leave. As Ethan reached the exit, he looked back. I'm sorry, Claire. This time he didn't ask for another chance. He already knew there wasn't one. The next morning, Michael called again. The theft investigation has been closed. I smiled. That's good. It is. But detectives are now considering whether Ethan knowingly filed a false police report. I stared out the window. This was no longer just a breakup. A few days later, Michael called once more. The file has been forwarded to the district attorney for review. I never wanted any of this. I know, he replied. But people who keep lying rarely stop on their own. That afternoon, a mutual friend sent screenshots from a private group chat. Claire's under criminal investigation. The police just haven't arrested her yet. Ethan has proof she stole thousands of dollars. I answered with a single message. The police closed the case because nothing he reported was true. Almost immediately, someone replied, Seriously? Then why would he lie? I locked my phone. I didn't need to convince strangers. Reality would do that for me. The following morning, I found my car waiting in the parking lot with liar carved across both passenger side doors. I photographed everything before calling the police. Security footage showed someone in a dark hoodie near my car around 3:30 a.m., but the face couldn't be identified. The damage would be repaired by insurance. The report became one more official record of everything that had happened. Thursday afternoon, Michael called. Ethan filed a petition for a protective order. I actually laughed. Against me? He claims you're stalking and harassing him. His entire case boiled down to seeing me at a grocery store, answering a phone call he had placed, and working downtown. We'll see him in court next Wednesday, Michael said. The hearing lasted less than an hour. Ethan sat beside his attorney and his mother while I sat with Michael. The judge calmly questioned him. You claim Ms. Bennett stalked you. Where? The grocery store. A public place. My office. The records show you went to her workplace. Ethan hesitated. I wanted to talk. So she wasn't following you? No. The judge continued. Did Ms. Bennett ever agree in writing that you could move into her apartment? No. Sign your lease? No. Any written agreement at all? No. Then Michael presented the evidence one document at a time. Security footage of Ethan trying to enter my apartment after permission had been revoked. Police reports confirming I'd packed every item, building records documenting false complaints, photographs of my vandalized car, phone records showing Ethan repeatedly contacted me after being blocked, the demand letter, and the recorded phone call. When he finished, he said only one sentence. My client has consistently ended contact. The petitioner has repeatedly restarted it. After several minutes of reviewing the file, the judge looked at Ethan. Your request for a protective order is denied. His shoulders immediately dropped. However, she continued, the evidence establishes repeated unwanted contact directed toward Ms. Bennett. She turned toward us. Is Ms. Bennett requesting protection? Yes, Your Honor, Michael answered. The judge granted the order, prohibiting Ethan from contacting me, approaching my home or workplace, or coming within 100 yards of me. His mother exploded. You're ruining my son's life. The bailiff stepped forward, and the judge warned her that one more interruption would remove her from the courtroom. She fell silent. Outside the courthouse, there were no cameras, only attorneys leaving for the day. Even then, Ethan's mother pointed at me. You've ruined everything. Michael calmly stepped between us. You're currently standing within the distance prohibited by the court order. She froze as her attorney hurried her away. Walking back to my car, I realized every lie Ethan had told now existed in writing. He hadn't defeated himself in one moment. He'd done it one decision at a time. I believed the protective order would finally end everything. I was wrong. 8 days later, my apartment security supervisor called just after 6 in the morning. Ms. Bennett, your former boyfriend is outside the building. He refuses to leave. I looked at the copy of the protective order hanging beside my front door. He knows he's not allowed here. We've told him repeatedly. He says he only wants 5 minutes. So you've called the police? We already have. I watched through the security cameras as Ethan stood outside carrying a small gift bag, looking thinner and exhausted. When the police arrived, he didn't run. After speaking with him for several minutes, they placed him in handcuffs for violating the court order. I closed the security camera app and went back to work. Before noon, Michael called. Ethan was arrested for violating the protective order. I figured, he'll probably spend tonight in custody. The judge warned him this would happen. I looked out my office window. I kept wondering when he'd finally stop. He doesn't know how, Michael replied. 3 weeks later, the follow-up hearing lasted less than 20 minutes. Ethan admitted violating the order. The judge placed him on probation and extended the protective order to 2 years. Do you understand the consequences of another violation? She asked. Yes, Your Honor. This time there were no excuses. As we left, Ethan remained seated without looking at me. After that, life slowly became normal again. My insurance covered the damage to my car. I added more security cameras, and the constant feeling of looking over my shoulder gradually disappeared. About a month later, Olivia asked if I'd meet her for coffee. We spent most of the conversation talking about how completely Ethan had deceived both of us. I believed him, she admitted. So did I. She told me she'd forwarded every message Ethan sent after the birthday party because he kept asking her to tell people I'd overreacted. I'm glad I never answered, she said. So am I. Neither of us had anything left to prove. The messages already had. 5 weeks after the party, the truth had reached almost everyone involved. Ethan's attorney withdrew after learning important facts had been withheld. His employer required him to meet with human resources after news of his arrest spread through the office. And although he kept his job, the promotion he'd been expecting disappeared. Most of our mutual friends eventually realized what had happened because every guest remembered the same thing. I hadn't screamed. I hadn't caused a scene. I'd simply wished another woman a happy birthday and quietly walked away. Mia texted me one last time. I was wrong. I'm sorry for believing him. I thanked her and left it there. As for Ethan's mother, she never contacted me again after the courthouse incident. About 2 months later, a friend introduced me to a man named Daniel. Halfway through dinner, he asked why I'd been single. My ex invited me to a surprise birthday party, I said. That doesn't sound so bad. It was for his ex-girlfriend. He blinked. On your birthday? Yes. After a long pause, he laughed in disbelief. I'm sorry, he said. I shouldn't laugh. I just can't imagine calling something that took that much planning an accident. I walked into Ethan's apartment expecting the happiest birthday of my life. I walked out with the truth instead. Looking back, it turned out to be the better gift.